The Pat Fitzgerald era has come to a screeching halt in Evanston, Illinois. Northwestern, it's time to look forward. Wildcats, it's time to rebuild your football program. Who could be some of the prime coaching candidates to take over for the Purple Cats?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
Let's not sugarcoat this, folks. This is going to be a difficult job. This is going to be a challenging opportunity for whoever becomes the next head coach, the next permanent head coach, whenever that hire may take place, of the Northwestern Wildcats. Now that Deion Sanders is the head coach of Colorado, he's doing what he's doing with the Buffs. This may be the most challenging Power 5 job in all of college football. Like, rebuilding Northwestern, I think, would be challenging in and of itself. And now you throw on the public perception of what people might think Northwestern is, the stink of this hazing scandal that has gone on under Pat Fitzgerald, and I think that makes it even more of an uphill climb for the next head coach, whoever comes in to be the next head coach of this Northwestern football program. Now, there are some things to look forward to, maybe some little bright spots at the end of what may seem like a dark tunnel. Right now, remember, Ryan Field is receiving a major facelift, renovation, rebuild, whatever you want to call it, over there. Yes, they're taking a little bit of a dip in attendance, but you're going to have a nice, shiny new home to play in, something to kind of show off to recruits as well. So I think that's a big positive. They put money in their facilities, that great practice facility on the banks of Lake Michigan as well. So there are some things to work with. I don't think the cupboard is completely, absolutely barren. I think there are some things to look forward to at Northwestern that if you get the right head coach in there, they can build off of those things to create success in Evanston, Illinois. All right, let's start with some of the candidates. I might be missing some people, so let me know who I missed. Leave them in the comments below. But, guys like Sharon Moore, Willie Fritz, a different kind of purple Wildcat, Chris Kleiman. Man, it would take a lot to get Chris Kleiman, I think, at this point, out of Manhattan, Kansas. But there are some other candidates that I think people have been throwing around. But I think these are some of maybe the first calls that you have to make right now if you're the athletic director over there at Northwestern. The first call, one of the first calls you got to make is David Shaw. David Shaw, he has proven that he can win for season after season after season at an academic powerhouse, maybe a place that's a little bit tougher to win. Yes, I know Jim Harbaugh laid the winning foundation before he bolted across the bay to become the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. David Shaw took over in 2011, but he's proven that he can win games in a 5-year period, in a 6-year period, in a longer period of time at a hard place to win. An academic powerhouse like Stanford, I think it's very comparable to what the opportunity may be at Northwestern. But this is a lot more of a rebuild than he took over, obviously, at Stanford, right? Jim Harbaugh was leaving to go to the National Football League. So there was talent there. There was players there. So it's a very different situation. But I think David Shaw really fits in to what Northwestern may want in their next head football coach. He went 95-54 at Stanford, 5 10-win seasons, 4-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year. I think when he was coaching, he was one of the better coaches in the conference. I think he was maybe some people might say really during his prime, that 2 to 3 year run there where he might have been one of the better head coaches, maybe a top 10, the top of 15 type of head coach in the country at that point in time. David Shaw would be a great hire for Northwestern, but I will say this about anybody that gets hired, administration, be patient. Even in the era of the transfer portal, this by no means, especially with USC and UCLA coming in, no divisions, this by no means is going to be a quick or easy turnaround. It might take 4 years. It might take 5 years to really see this team become bowl eligible even. So this is not going to be an easy turnaround no matter who takes this job. So David Shaw, I think that's got to be one of your first calls. I really think he could rebuild the culture. I think at Northwestern, he's proven that he can recruit to academic powerhouses. I think that could be a good first call or second call or one of the early calls, definitely, for Northwestern. Let's take a look at maybe the other end of the spectrum. You talk about a proven head coach to a guy that has yet to becoming coordinator, right? Brian Hartline was just named the offensive coordinator for this upcoming season. Yes, I know he was a passing game coordinator as well, but he was a position coach. But he wasn't just any position coach. He was a position coach at wide receiver U. Brian Hartline may be as responsible as anybody, from the Urban Meyers to the Ryan Days of the world, to the success of the wide receiver room, to the success of the offense at Ohio State, especially the wide receiver development and the wide receiver recruits that Ohio State has been able to nab over the last couple of years. When you talk about Northwestern in the Pat Fitzgerald era, this has been a hard-nosed, bring your lunch pail to work, a old-school Big Ten defensive type of team. Brian Hartline would inject some offense, some offensive excitement, I think, into this football program and be able to attract maybe better offensive talent than Northwestern is used to. I think that you talk about maybe adjusting the culture a little bit, maybe shifting more to the offensive side of the ball might be something. But I'll say this. I think this one, maybe out of all of these, is probably the most unlikely because Brian Hartline is going into his first year as a coordinator. I think if he really does well, he's going to be a hot commodity in a few years to be maybe a Power 5 head football coach. He is a rising star in this profession. But if Northwestern wants to nab him and they want to offer him a lot of money and maybe get ahead of the game a little bit, Brian Hartline might be the guy to get that done. All right, let's go on to another one. Let's move on to Jim Leonard. You want a no-nonsense attitude? Jim Leonard might be your guy, right? He coordinated some of the Big Ten's best defenses at Wisconsin. He really built a defensive, hard-nosed, tough culture with that Wisconsin defense. Of course, that's what Wisconsin has been known for many, many years, going back, of course, to Barry Alvarez, and the culture that Jim Leonard played in when he was a player at the University of Wisconsin. Big Ten proven. I think he has proven enough for him to be a head football coach. I think this could be a guy that could come in, establish a new culture. But the thing is, we talk about a new culture, but a lot of these guys that are going to be mentioned to be the head football coach, people are going to say, well, they need a disciplinarian. They need someone who's hard-nosed and everything. It's a lot of the qualities that Pat Fitzgerald kind of has. So you're kind of looking for that type of guy. Jim Leonard might fit in that type of mold to become the next head coach of the Northwestern Wildcats and rebuild that program. So Jim Leonard, I think, could be. He is not currently employed right now. Maybe this could be an opportunity to get Jim Leonard back into coaching as well. So I'm going to take a look at my last candidate. Boy, this guy was one of the hottest coaches on the market a couple of years back. Remember when they had Brock Purdy and Breece Hall, and they had that run and went to the Fiesta Bowl? He was one of the hottest coaching commodities in the country at that point. Okay, you're talking about some of the bigger and better jobs that he was a candidate for in the country. Now, they've slid down. They went 4-8 last season, and he's kind of lost some of his luster maybe as one of these high-profile head coaches and going to maybe some of these big-time jobs. So maybe Northwestern can kind of swoop in and say, come to the Big Ten, be in a Power 2 conference, and rebuild our football program. I think Matt Campbell, what he did at Toledo, and then what he did at Iowa State. Of course, at Iowa State, you're talking about winning in a place that is difficult to win at. I think that's what kind of Northwestern is looking for. If you've been a head coach, have you won in a difficult situation? You look at David Shaw at Stanford, even though the groundwork was laid. He continued to kind of lay the groundwork over there at Stanford. You look at Matt Campbell here at Iowa State. He's made a bowl game in 5 of 7 seasons that he's been the head coach at Iowa State. I believe this could be a good hire. The question is Matt Campbell still holding out for one of those big-time jobs? That's, I think, the big question. What could get him out of Ames, Iowa, and get him over to Evanston, Illinois? I think that's a big question for a lot of these coaches that could be interested in Northwestern. The program is just so down in the dumps right now with everything that's going on. And this is a program that is notoriously difficult to win at. You had a guy in Pat Fitzgerald that was all about Northwestern. He was a Northwestern guy. This is where he wanted to be. Coaches that come in might view Northwestern as a stepping stone to a next opportunity. The Wildcats have got to try to find the next head coach that's going to rebuild the culture at Northwestern. Who do you think could be a good candidate to take over the Wildcats?
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.